Page number 84. The story of Gaza, the Greek name for Bharuch. The gulf is very narrow at Gaza. And very hard to navigate for those coming from the sea. Ships had to be steered in by skillful and experienced local fishermen who were employed by the king. The imports into Gaza were wine, copper, tin, lead, coral, topaz, cloth, gold, and silver coins. Exports from the town included plants from the Himalayas, ivory, agate, carnelian, cotton, silk, and perfumes. Special gifts were brought by merchants for the king. These included vessels of silver, singing boys, beautiful women, fine wines, and fine cloth. Make a list of all the things imported and exported from Gaza. Underline at least 2 things that were not in use during Harappan times. Why do you think merchants brought gifts for the king? Coins. You may have noticed how wealth is measured in terms of coins in the story on page 82. Archaeologists have found several thousands of coins belonging to this period. The earliest coins, which were in use for about 500 years, were punch-marked coins, such as the one shown on this page. Punch-marked coins. Punch-marked coins were generally rectangular or sometimes square or round in shape, either cut out of metal sheets or made out of flattened metal globules, which means a small spherical body. The coins were not inscribed, but were stamped with symbols using dies or punches. Hence, they are called punch-marked coins. These coins are found over most parts of the subcontinent and remained in circulation till the early centuries CE. Page number 85. Other means of exchange. Read this short poem from the Sangam collection. As they carry the white paddy of their land to exchange it for the salt of another, crossing the long roads in carts, through sands white as moonlight, taking whole families who hate to be left behind. The departure of the salt merchants leaves the city empty. Salt was produced plentifully along the sea coast. What are the merchants planning to exchange it with? How are they traveling? Cities with many functions. Very often, a single town was important for a variety of reasons. Let us look at the example of Mathura. Map 7, page number 105. Mathura has been an important settlement for more than 2,500 years. It was important because it was located at the crossroads of two major routes of travel and trade, from the northwest to the east and from north to south. There were fortifications around the city and several shrines. Farmers and herders from adjoining areas provided food for people in the city. Mathura was also a center where some extremely fine sculpture was produced. Around 2000 years ago, Mathura became the second capital of the Kushanas. About whom you will be reading in chapter 9. Mathura was also a religious center. There were Buddhist monasteries, Jain shrines, and it was an important center for the worship of Krishna. Several inscriptions on surfaces such as stone slabs and statues have been found in Mathura. Page number 86. Generally, these are short inscriptions recording gifts made by men and sometimes women to monasteries and shrines. These were made by kings and queens, officers, merchants, and craftspersons who lived in the city. For instance, inscriptions from Mathura mention goldsmiths, blacksmiths, weavers, basket makers, garland makers, perfumers. Make a list of the occupations of people who lived in Mathura. List one occupation that was not practiced in Harappan cities. Crafts and craftspersons. We also have archaeological evidence for crafts. These include extremely fine pottery, known as the Northern Black Polished Ware, or NBPW. It gets its name from the fact that it is generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. Remember that the archaeological evidence for many crafts may not have survived. We know from texts that the manufacture of cloth was important. There were famous centers such as Varanasi in the north and Madurai in the south. Both men and women worked in these centers. Many craftspersons and merchants now formed associations known as shrenis. These shrenis of craftspersons provided training, procured raw material, and distributed the finished product. Then shrenis of merchants organized the trade. Shrenis also served as banks, where rich men and women deposited money. This was invested, and part of the interest was returned or used to support religious institutions such as monasteries. Northern Black Polished Ware, NBPW. NBPW is a hard, wheel-made, metallic-looking ware with a shiny black surface. The potter used to expose the earthenware to very high temperature in his kiln, which resulted in the blackening of its outer surface. A fine black slip was also applied on this, which gave the pottery a mirror-like shine. Page number 87. Rules for spinning and weaving. These rules are from the Arthashastra, mentioned in chapter 7. They describe how spinning and weaving could be done in workshops under the supervision of a special official. Widows, young women who are differently abled, nuns, mothers of courtesans, retired women servants of the king, women who have retired from service in temples may be used for processing wool, bark, cotton, hemp, and flax. They should be paid according to the quality and quantity of work. Women who are not permitted to leave their homes can send maid servants to bring the raw material from the superintendent and take the finished work back to him. Women who can visit the workshop should go at dawn to give their work and receive their wages. There should be enough light to examine the work. In case the superintendent looks at the women or talks about anything other than the work, he should be punished. If a woman does not complete her work, she will have to pay a fine and her thumbs can be cut off. Make a list of all the women who could be employed by the superintendent. Do you think women would have faced any problems while working? A closer look. Arikamedu. Find Arikamedu in Puducherry on map 7, page number 105, and read the box on Rome on page 88. Between 2200 and 1900 years ago, Arikamedu was a coastal settlement where ships unloaded goods from distant lands. A massive brick structure, which may have been a warehouse, was found at the site. Other finds include pottery from the Mediterranean region, such as amphore, which means tall double-handled jars that contained liquids such as wine or oil, and stamped red-glazed pottery known as Aretine ware, which was named after a city in Italy. This was made by pressing wet clay into a stamped mold. There was yet another kind of pottery which was made locally, though Roman designs were used. Roman lamps, glassware, and gems have also been found at the site. Page number 88. Small tanks have been found that were probably dyeing vats used to dye cloth. There is plenty of evidence for the making of beads from semi-precious stones and glass. List the evidence that indicates that there was contact with Rome. On the top right-hand side of this page, a picture is shown. This is Tamil Brahmi inscriptions. Several pieces of pottery have inscriptions in Brahmi, which was used to write Tamil. Elsewhere, find Rome on map 6, page 76. This is one of the oldest cities in Europe and developed around the same time as the cities in the Ganga Valley. Rome was the capital of one of the largest empires, one that spread across Europe, North Africa, and West Asia. Augustus, one of the most important emperors who ruled about 2000 years ago, said that he found Rome a city of brick and made it into a city of marble. He and later rulers built temples and palaces. They also built huge amphitheaters, open arenas surrounded by tiers of seats, where citizens could watch all kinds of shows and public baths, with separate timings for men and women, where people met and relaxed. Huge aqueducts, channels to supply water, were built to bring water to the city for the baths, fountains, and toilets. Why do you think the amphitheaters and aqueducts have survived? Page number 89. Imagine you live in Beri Gaza and are visiting the port. Describe what you would see there. Let's recall. 1. Fill in the blanks. A. Fill in the blank was a word used for large landowners in Tamil. B. The Gram Bhojak often got his land cultivated by the fill in the blank. C. Ploughmen were known as fill in the blank in Tamil. D. Most Grihapatis were fill in the blank land owners. 2. Describe the functions of Gram Bhojak. Why do you think he was powerful? Number 3. List the craftspersons who would have been present in both villages and cities. Number 4. Choose the correct answer. A. Ring wells were used for 1. Bathing. 2. Washing clothes. 3. Irrigation. 4. Drainage. B. Punch-marked coins were made of 1. Silver. 2. Gold. 3. Tin. 4. Ivory. Keywords: iron, irrigation, village, port, ring well, city, Shreni. Sangam. Page number 90. C. Mathura was an important 1. Village, 2. Port, 3. Religious center, 4. Forested area. D. Shrenis were associations of 1. Rulers, 2. Craftspersons, 3. Farmers, 4. Herders. Let's discuss. 5. Which of the iron tools shown on page number 79 would have been important for agriculture? What would the other tools have been used for? 6. Compare the drainage system in your locality with that of the cities mentioned in the lesson. What similarities and differences do you notice? Let's do. 7. If you have seen craftspersons at work, describe in a short paragraph what they do. Hint. How do they get the raw materials? What kind of equipment do they use? How do they work? What happens to the finished product? Number 8. List the functions performed by men and women who live in your city or village. In what ways are these similar to those performed by people who lived in Mathura? In what ways are they different? Some important dates. Beginning of the use of iron in the subcontinent, about 3,000 years ago. Increase in the use of iron, cities, punch-marked coins, about 2,500 years ago. Beginning of the composition of Sangam literature, about 2,300 years ago. Settlement in Arikamedu between 2,200 and 1,900 years ago.